Cottagecore boyfriend frogs holding hands and wearing hats. So, again, kind of like last week, I have a sheet of cardstock. I like, if I'm going to be painting in general, it's helpful in my opinion to have a thicker, heavier piece of paper than just like regular printer paper. For a long time, I did just use printer paper to paint on, which is definitely valid. But the only problem is that, like, when you get a lot of paint and water on it, it does tend to crinkle up and be weird then. So, because of that, I do like using a heavier paper just so I don't have to worry so much about wrinkles, and it will look nicer like when it's done, and it will look nicer like when I scan it to digitize it. So, um, I want to. I was thinking about this earlier because I was trying to figure out like what I want to do for the stream. So I'm going to be doing frogs that are kind of like they're not entirely going to be the colors of the gay man pride flag, which is like blues and greens. It's not going to be the exact tones that are on that flag necessarily, but it's going to be inspired by that because we have our little MLM frogos here, and seen a lot of frogs wearing hats. Um, Part of the inspiration for this, my friend Casper sent me Cottagecore frogs wearing hats earlier, like flower hats, and I was like, hey, I want to do something with that idea. I've always wanted to paint a frog wearing a flower hat. Because going into the stream, before receiving that, then I was like, well, I want to draw a frog wearing a raspberry or strawberry on his head, rather, because I've seen so many cute pictures of like frogs with fruit on top of their head. So I was originally just going to do one frog wearing like a strawberry on his head. Then I got the post that had frogs with flower hats from Casper, and then I was like, okay, I want to do a frog wearing a flower hat and a frog wearing a piece of fruit on its head. Then I was like, wait a second. I'm going to be drawing two frogs. What if they were boyfriends? Because I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, so there's a lot of like cute cottagecore girlfriend things, and I love that. I think it's a really adorable aesthetic, the whole cottagecore GF thing. But I was like, the thing I realized this morning is like, I haven't seen a lot of things that are cottagecore boyfriends. So I was like, what if I made cottagecore boyfriend frogs? Like, I can do that. That's the power of being an artist. If I'm like, lots of good cottagecore girlfriend content. I keep accidentally saying cottagecore girlfriend. It's like that girl meme. Anyways, I kept seeing a bunch of cute cottagecore girlfriend stuff. But I suddenly was like, I don't see a lot of stuff that's MLM, boyfriend, stuff like that. I'm like, I want to do that. So, all my paint has been laying outside, and it's kind of funky, and it keeps trying to drip out of my hands. So if you have seen me or heard me cringing, that's why. Just me cursing at my paints. Anyways, so, and then I was like, the frogs are they're going to be wearing their hats and stuff, and then they're going to be holding hands. So, that is what I'm going to be painting today. After I get all my little paints open. Like, I know the kind of colors I'm going to mix together and stuff. When I paint, I do tend to sometimes put down too much paint because I get too excited. And I'm like, dip the brush in the paint, smear it on the canvas. So, I'm going to get open the colors that I know I'm going to use. So, oh, hey Casper, I know you do not have the audio on, and don't think I can chat on my phone, but thank you so much for being here. It's always nice to have friends show up for my streams. I always appreciate any support of anybody who shows up. So, getting all my little paints open, because again, it's a lot easier to be able to just have everything open. Granted, I usually just kind of make art flying by the seat of my pants. So I'm just like, I'm going to make art. And I'm like, oh, oopsie, I need this particular color. I don't have it. So there's a lot of that. But I'm like, I'm trying to be more prepared. If there's one thing that doing these Twitch streams has taught me, and again, doing the opening of the paints is something that maybe next time I will do before I start the stream. I'm learning as I go. It's like my third stream. So, also I do want to say all the paints lined up like this. It's really cool looking. I like it. Anyways, making these streams makes me have to prepare and think about art a lot more, because making art is something I obviously love a lot. But the problem is, and like, this is one of the reasons that I love the fact that I've been doing the streaming. One of the reasons and one of the things I love most about it is the fact that it makes me have to prepare art stuff and actually like work on art stuff, rather than just like, because before the problem is I would be like, I want to make art, but then I would be like, I would get distracted by either other projects I wanted to do or other responsibilities. And then on days that I was available to do so, I would end up not making art. And then I'd be disappointed and I'd be sad, because like art and making art is one of my hyperfixations. So a lot of times when I sit down to make art also, I'll sit down like, I'm just gonna make art real quick, and then it ends up like it's nighttime and I'm like, I haven't eaten or gotten up to go to the bathroom in a couple of hours because I've been making art and I've neglected all of the responsibilities. So also having specific goals, like, okay, I'm going to work on art for this time, is helpful for, avoiding some of that. But also, like, at the same token, like, because it is something I really love doing, making sure that I do it each week. That's important to me. Because there was a lot of weeks before that I would be like, oh, I'm too busy to make art. I just won't do it. It'll be fine. I'll be fine. But then I would, like, just feel kind of antsy or frustrated, and I'd be like, why do I feel this way? And eventually I'm like, I think it's because I did stuff that I needed to do on my days off, but I didn't do enough stuff that I, like, wanted to do. I didn't do as much stuff that was fun that I wanted to do. So I'd be disappointed in that. And so me scheduling art and be like, okay, once a week I'm going to stream, and it's probably going to be Fridays. That's what I've done doing today and did last time. It's worked pretty well. So because of that, and like that may change at some point, but for now I think I'm going to aim for every Friday, because I do like having it a regular thing. And me having ADHD, having some structure of like, okay, I have to get my stuff together and be ready at a specific time to make art and have my supplies in order and have all that fun stuff going. So because of that, having a structure like that is important. And again, art is something I like doing, but a lot of times I get distracted by other things, but then I'm disappointed that I didn't do art. So scheduling it, make sure that I actually do it, which is helpful and fairly important for me actually, like, doing it, because there'd be some weeks before it'd be a bummer because I wouldn't do any art, or I would just do a little bit of art. And at some point I will also start streaming digital art, but I just don't have the setup for that yet. So until then, you will see me making analog art, because to be honest, I also do make a lot of analog art as it is. There's some things I could make digitally, like collages and stuff, but I still prefer making them analog. I'll literally print out stuff and then cut it out and then scan it again. So me painting stuff is not that far outside of what I do anyways. But I would like to be able to show you guys digital art as well at some point. But I just don't have the stuff for that yet. So the structure of me planning, like, on this day, I have to be ready to make art. I'm going to do art. It'll be fun. That's important. And then also, it makes me have to make sure that I'm, during the week, in between streams, I have to think about, like, okay, I want to make something, but what am I going to make on my stream? So it's not me sitting there, like, day of the stream, right before I'm about to do the stream, like, cool, what am I going to paint? So, because of that, it's helpful because it also keeps me thinking creatively about what I want to make and planning. And also, like, sometime soon, I do have some cool, funky art things that I want to make. And because of that, there are things that will require a little bit more preparation on my part. I'm probably not gonna, like, because it's set up in the room that I record the streams in, isn't ideal for me, like, drilling with a drill, and it will require drilling, because I have some plastic lids and stuff, and I have to also figure out, like, what the art should look like. I do have some just weird random art things that I would like to make that aren't painting or drawing. It's like me sticking weird random stuff together. So, oh, hi Nessa and Cecil and Casper. Hello. Hi Becky. Hi Jazz. All good. I'm glad Jazz loves the supplies. I'm excited everybody to join this stream. I'm glad, Casper, you can have your audio on now. Just been talking about the little gay cottagecore boyfriend Froggos and how doing a stream every week has been helpful for me, like, having structure to make sure that I do art because it's something I love, but a lot of times, like, before I wouldn't make time for it. So, that's what I've been talking about as I paint the froggies. Hi, Cecil. We've got everybody on here now. That's always nice and fun. Have friends show up for my streams. But, so it keeps me having to think about, like, what am I going to make? And that's helpful because, again, also I'm the kind of person, like, I'm going to make art. What am I going to make today? So it makes me have to think, like, okay, what am I, knowing in advance, I'm going to do this specific thing, and knowing that, like, having to think about, and also having to be prepared. Like, good and important practice for me to have to think about, how can I be prepared to do an art stream? What supplies do I need to get in order? Stuff like that is helpful for me. The kind of structure that is helpful. I don't like too much structure because then it's boring. If I have too much structure, then I'm like, I don't like having a schedule. I'm more so just, like, as much as possible during the day, doing things as I feel like doing them. So, like, be like, okay, at some point today, I will achieve this thing. Doesn't matter when. Could be now, could be 2 a.m, but I'm going to do this today. That's more helpful to me than being like, wow, at 3 p.m. I'm going to do this. So I don't know, I like having my freedom. My freedom is important to me. But I also need to get a little better at getting things prepared ahead of time, and just so I can achieve in any given week things that I want to achieve. So because of that, that's another kind of benefit I've had from streaming. It gives me something that I have to do. And it's also kind of nice because, like, obviously doing a Twitch stream isn't the same as performing, but especially because, thanks to the pandemic, I've been out of work as an actor for almost a year now. It is nice to be able to be live and in front of people and, you know, be performing for them in a way. And again, it's not the same as, like, what I did before and what I will one day be able to do again, but it is really nice to be able to have an audience and be able to make something cool and to make in real life. It's different than just, like, making a video and then putting it on YouTube, because it's like doing a Twitch stream is kind of collaborative in a way, because I can respond to what people are saying in the chat, but also it's just like, I can be like, oh yeah, I want to tell people this story. I want to explain what I'm doing. And I can do all those things. So, getting a little green to this one over here. So, yeah. Draw my little gay froggos. So, yeah, I'm going to add a little bit of green to this one now that I've gotten that layer of blue down. But yeah, I've enjoyed doing the Twitch streaming, and again, it's a nice kind of way of performing for people while also getting to make art. And also, again, it encourages me to make more pieces and not be distracted and be like, yeah, I'll make a piece this week and then not make anything new. Because like on my Etsy shop, I always like being able to add other things, keep people interested, and gives me plenty of stuff to make sure I can promote everything that I want to promote. Yeah, Twitch streaming, Casper, definitely, it is a nice kind of replacement for it. Because it's like, it's not as collaborative as like the murder mystery shows were, but it is still collaborative, and it's still a form of performing. So that's one thing I've realized over the past, like couple weeks of doing the Twitch streams. Because also, again, it's like, kind of like with shows before, I'd be like, okay, I have to be at this venue by this time, or be at the office by this time to pick up bins or whatever. So, it's nice now to be like, okay, well, on Friday, I have this creative thing, and it's scheduled. And I may not know the exact time the stream will start, but I'm like, there's going to be a stream at some point. So, it has been a nice replacement, and like, doing the Twitch streams just made me think about how I've missed that. Because I've obviously done various types of performing things since the pandemic began, like making TikTok videos and stuff like that. But there's still a difference, I think, between making a video like on TikTok and putting it out there and then actually being live in front of people and knowing like, oh yeah, people are taking time out of their day to watch what I'm making. And there's something nice about that, which is the Twitch streams have been a nice replacement for that. Exactly. It's just like improv, and because it is, I have to be like, okay, what am I going to say about this while I'm painting? How am I going to entertain people for like 45 minutes while I paint stuff? So it is a lot of improv stuff, and that's one thing also, like, I want to make sure I keep my improv muscles sharp, because it's something I haven't got to do as much, obviously, as much as I used to, but it's something obviously that I love doing, and I don't want to feel like I'm falling backwards on my skills I was building back when all this stuff started, just because I haven't been able to practice it in real life as much. So, all those are things I've been thinking about recently when I've been like, oh yeah, I really have been enjoying doing these art streams. So, almost done painting the little froggies. And it's a lot of fun making the art. And it's also fun knowing the fact that, like, I always like watching other people's speed paints and stuff, because it's so fascinating to me to watch, like, oh, they achieved this because they did this. So it's fascinating for me to see, like, oh, I can, like, I learn a lot of skills from watching other people's speed paint and things, or other people's streams, or whatever I've seen of people making art, their TikToks, whatever they have. I like seeing the process and like behind the scenes. So I, doing my own Twitch streaming, hope people enjoy being able to see like a piece and be like, oh, I really like this design on your Etsy, and then going and being like, oh, that's how you made that design, that's really cool. Like it's a cool idea, like somebody could watch the video either live in the stream, or even like if I upload it to YouTube, they could do that, and then they could be like, I'm gonna buy that, and they would own a sticker or something that had it, and like they had watched it be created. So exactly, it's awesome to be able to make cool Etsy stuff on the streams. And I do want to that's a good idea. Actually, I really like that idea. Because I could do things like, I could be like, hey, we're going to just cut out stickers and chat and things like that. So people could see the behind the scenes, or like some parts of me packing orders or preparing stuff like that. That's a good idea. I could do streams for that as well. I'll have to think about like when I could do that and like what exactly I would do, because I have seen, one thing I have liked watching on Instagram and stuff is people making videos of like them packing Etsy orders and kind of showing their process. So I could also do a stream sometime where it's like, I'm gonna prepare stickers and just hang out and stuff. And yeah, it's a really nice way to also be able to tease new products, because I still need to put the stuff from the other streams on my Etsy. But by the same token, like when I do, people know about the product, so they're like, oh, that's that. I watched you draw that. So it's a nice way of being like, hey people, I'm making this thing and it's gonna come on the Etsy. And another thing kind of based on those ideas also that I just got the idea for, I could do streams where with products that I already have out or other, various things I've created, I could do streams where I talk about like how I made that thing or talk about the story behind it. So I could also do that and just kind of tell stories or talk about different products I have. I think I really like that idea. I'm definitely going to have to think about that. There's a lot of cool things, I think, that I could talk about in streams. Or it could be things like even me doing a stream and like preparing orders or doing art or whatever, and there could be specific topics of discussion or whatever, or specific like stories like, okay, what do you want to hear about today, and just fun things like that. But I'm having a lot of good ideas for other things I could do on streams also, and things I could incorporate into streams. Oh yeah, Becky, you should switch it to Twitch instead of YouTube, because the nice thing, like Twitch makes it easy to upload whatever you've done. If you like have it save the videos for you, then you can just upload the Twitch stream to YouTube, so it can still be a video that people can watch on demand when they want to do it, but you can still do it live. And like YouTube Live is pretty big, but I think Twitch streaming has a larger audience. So you probably could, like, I don't know, I've never done YouTube streaming, but I just feel like you could probably get a larger audience maybe on Twitch. And again, you can still upload to YouTube, so you still have the benefit of doing that. So yeah, that'd be neat. Oh good, Casper, I'm glad you got my card. Your nice card with your monthly stickers in it. I was figuring it would probably arrive sometime soon, because I shipped it out probably like 3 days ago. So yay, I'm glad it arrived safely. Yeah, doing some makeup streams and stuff like that would be cool, and I think Twitch would be a good place to do any of that, because again, you have a large audience, you have lots of different categories of streaming you can do. I think it makes it easier for people to just kind of stumble across the stream also, even people who don't follow you. I don't know exactly, but I'm assuming like you could look and like, who's streaming art right now, and then just find that stuff. So it would probably help you have more audience. So yeah. But there's something I was going to say about Twitch streaming that I totally don't remember what it was. But that's okay. If it's important, I'll think of it, and I'll be able to say it later. Alright, time to draw little froggy feet. I'm also gonna blend the leg a little bit more with the body. Oh good, I'm so glad you love the stickers. I was trying to think what to make for the sticker club, and so I'm glad you love them. One was a brand new one that I made specifically for it, and another one I was like, well, I want to give you another cute sticker, so I'm going to repurpose a design I've done before, and then you'll get an updated version of that. So yay, I'm so glad you like them. So, and I've promoted and like talked about this a little bit, but for everybody who may not know, I do have a Patreon. And one of the things on the Patreon is you have a sticker club. And basically the sticker club is once a month, I will send you an exclusive original sticker. So I'll design a special sticker. It's one that you can't buy on my Etsy, and you will get it in the mail. And that is if you sign up for the $7 a month tier, then you will, if you do the $7 a month tier, then that's a sticker club. And I have a lot of cool perks coming up also that I'm going to work on uploading, especially as I get more Patreon subscribers. Oh yeah, thank you, Casper. That'd be great if you could put the link in it. I think it's just patreon.com/AshleyCraft. It's pretty easy. Yay! Thank you for posting that in there. But yeah. Thank you. But yeah, so at the link that's in the chat now that Casper just posted, that's where you can sign up for my Patreon. And for those of you who are going to be watching the YouTube upload of this, there will be a link in the description for that, so you can click on that. But yeah, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1 a month. I forgot all the different benefits of each tier, but I do know that, like, you get some behind the scenes photos and like photos like, here's some things that are going to be stickers. You get photos and stuff like that, and you get to see, like, you get first announcements about new products and new things like that are coming out before, like, everyone else has access to them. I can't remember I don't know if there's a $2 a month tier. I know there's a $3 a month tier, and then there's a $5 a month tier, and then $7, and I still need to add other higher tiers, because I know there's probably some people who'd like to sign up for those, so that's something I'm working on. I just got to think about, like, what I want to add to those. But one thing I was thinking about, because I have published so many books, there are more than 100 different ones, I was like, well, people are obviously going to buy some of them, but people are not going to probably buy all of them. So I'm like, what if I made access to my library of books that I have published a Patreon perk? Now, granted, this is a perk that will take a bit for me to fulfill because, again, requires making PDF versions of every book and then figuring out how to add that to Patreon. But I would like to do it that everybody paying $5 a month or more will have access to, so starting at the $5 a month tier, you'll have access to all my zines I have published. So you'll have all the issues of Assemblage and any photography zines, like my flower zines, which have some poetry and stuff in them. You'll have access to all of those, and as I make kind of little one-off zines that are maybe only a few pages long, I will be selling those on my Shopify store, which is only has one title on it right now, because I also want to have ebooks and stuff of all the books available in there. But you'll also have access to those as being part of the $5 or more a month. Ooh, thank you. Yeah, I came up with the idea the other day because I was thinking about all the books and stuff, and, like, I do sell them on Amazon and stuff sometimes, but again, nobody's going to buy all of them individually because that would cost a lot of money. But I'm like, I've made all this content, and I'd much rather have people have access to it and be able to read it, and it be, you know, a perk, a reason that they want to support me on Patreon, than have nobody buy them and, you know, me write these things and me not make money off of them because people didn't purchase them. So it's kind of, and also, like, thinking about, like, streaming services that have a subscription fee, it's kind of like that, but for the content I've created, and because I have so much content, all different types of content, poetry, novels, children's books, educational books, lots of different things, so there's kind of, you know, something for most people's interests. But yeah, so $5 and up per month patrons will get they'll get access to all the zines, of which there's at least 20 of them. I don't know the exact number, but I know there's at least 20. And then people who are in the sticker club tier or higher will have access to all the books. So they'll get the zines and they'll get like 80 plus, I think. Or at least there's at least like 70, 75, because I can't remember what proportion of the books I've published are zines versus books. I know there's way more books than zines, but they'll have access to all those titles as soon as I can figure out, and also have the time to get all the stuff uploaded. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Becky. I really appreciate that. It always makes me really happy and excited to get new patrons. So, thank you so much for that. That's awesome. That makes me happy. So, but yeah. So, I want to have more perks because, like, I think Patreon's a really cool thing. And I want to be able to make more of my income from doing patron stuff. So I'm just trying to think of like, what are some things people could do, and like having kind of almost like a subscription service of people being able to read my paid content, I think could be a good thing to do, and it's an easy way for me to add value to a tier without me having to, have a lot of time or effort beyond just kind of fixing up the PDFs and making sure those are good to go. So, and I think that's a good way to divide it up. So like, you'll still get access to a lot of content at $5, and then at $7 you'll have access to all the stuff, and on top of that, each month you'll get a cute sticker. So yay. That's awesome. Oh yay. Well, Jazz will love the stickers and all the fun stuff. So yeah. That's awesome. But yeah, I definitely want to do more with Patreon. Because again, it's a nice, I think it's everything I've seen with it so far, and everybody I've supported with it so far, I've been really pleased with it as a website. So yeah. Okay, so the frogs themselves are done. One thing I'm going to do real quick, because I'm going to start kind of adding a little bit of a background behind them, because I do live in their little cottage together. But before I do that, I'm going to take some white paint, and I'm going to get their eyes started. Got a little drop of paint, a little paint crusty that fell off the bottle, fell into the frog. I'm going to get the whites of their eyes painted so that can start drying. And then I'm going to paint the background, and then I'm going to go back and do their pupils. And they're going to be looking at each other lovingly. So, I'm just trying to make the mistake of being like, oh yeah, this paintbrush would be great for this, and then I get it, and I'm like, why did I pick that paintbrush? Why would I do that? So, because the other mistake that I make with painting is putting too thick of a layer of paint down, which I don't want to do, because I want this to actually dry enough to do the pupils and not wait a couple hours. And that is one thing nice. And like, one thing nice about painting not on a stream is like, if I put too much paint on something and it takes like 3 hours to dry, that's okay. Not so okay on a stream, so I have to make sure I don't do that. I cannot be as chaotic with my painting on the stream as I could be outside of a stream. Oh yay, thank you. That would be a big help to post your stuff on Instagram and tag me. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad, Casper. I'm glad you like the sticker club. Yay. That makes me happy. I try to make cute, fun stickers every month. And for people that want to be part of the sticker club, as long as you sign up for Patreon that month by like the 20th of the month, you will get that month's sticker. So if anybody on the stream wants to be part of the sticker club and they haven't signed up yet, then as long as they sign up by February 20th, they will get the February sticker, which I have not decided on yet, but again, get cute little fun stickers every month. Different ones involving cute animals, and I pick out some some cute different things that I'm like, yeah, my Patreon supporters would like this. So yeah. I think in total I have like 4 patrons maybe now. I've just started doing stuff with Patreon not that long ago, so I'm really happy that I already have at least 4 people signed up for it. So that also makes me happy. Especially because doing creative stuff, it's one of those things that it can take a long time to kind of make your name in it. And it's something I've been working on for a long time. Like, one thing I was thinking about the other day, when I published my most recent poetry book, Diary of the Sad Boy Part 2, one thing I was thinking about is, like, it was like a year ago, not a year ago, it was about 10 years ago that I started, like, publishing books and stuff. So I was 16 and I started self-publishing my own books. And, like, it was something back then, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and then, like, instantly I'll be successful and I'll have this, this life that I want to, that's my dream life and my goals and stuff. Like, I'll have that. So it's something, like, that I've been working towards for a really long time. And one thing that's been really exciting to me recently is, like, a lot of the stuff I've been working on for such a long time, I'm finally starting to make strides in it. I'm finally getting the things and starting to make progress that's tangible, that I can be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And then I do stuff, and then, people are actually like, wow, I'm a fan of your stuff. And have people, like, buying my Etsy products and signing up for my Patreon. And, like, watching my Twitch streams. And there's a lot of stuff that for a long time I didn't have that stuff, but I'm, like, finally starting to have some of that fan base and notoriety, or whatever we want to call it. I'm finally starting to have some of that and actually seeing progress and seeing that all the work that I've done in the past 10 years and before that when I was, practicing so I could even get to that point, starting to see that stuff paying off, and all the moments that I doubted the fact that I could, do something with the creative stuff that I had, seeing that wasn't a waste and it wasn't for nothing, and that any moment that I doubted that, like, it just took trying longer than I had been at that point to make that a possibility and to move in that direction. So I've been really excited recently seeing things heading in that direction and seeing a lot of positive support, and, like, how much my Etsy sales have grown over the past year. I now have over 300 sales, and I started 2020 with like 70, 60 sales or something. So it grew a lot in a short time period. So it's really exciting for me to see, like, I worked so hard at this and see it's finally paying off, though, and I'm finally starting to get somewhere. It's a really nice feeling. And I just wanted to express my appreciation to anybody who's been part of that, anybody who's helped with that, because it's all added up and it's all made a huge difference. So thank you, everybody. Ooh, I like the idea of pride hearts. I have to think about, do I just want to do, like, straight up pride hearts, or do I want to involve them with, like, a quote or an animal, or have to think about that. But I do really like the idea of pride hearts, and that would also be a fitting theme for February, because I was trying to think about something which would be good for February. I really like that idea, though. That would be a cute idea for the sticker. Oh yeah. Why am I not successful in major now? Yes, Casper, that is exactly a mood. Especially because, like, when I was 16, I was still very much in the whole, like, I'm going to do this the traditional way. So I thought that I was like, I'm going to get a publishing deal with a big book publisher, and they're going to give me a big advance, and basically, like, capitalism, yay. Because I thought that back, and, like, granted, 10 years ago, there wasn't as much of a market. Like, Etsy maybe existed, but it was not a big thing. I remember when Pinterest first started out and like you had to request an invite so that their servers can get overloaded. Like I signed up for it at that point and I was like, I'm going to promote my books on Pinterest. But yeah, when I was, because I was like 16, I was sending letters to book publishing companies and be like, hey, I've written a novel called Strange Occurrences. It's a young adult novel. You want to publish it? And every person was like, thank you for your interest, but no. And like my family didn't have hardly any money at all back then, but we had to pay to send the manuscripts with tracking numbers and stuff to these publishers. And then everyone was just like, nope. And every time I get a letter in the mail from one of them, I'd be like, maybe this is going to be the letter. This is going to be the letter that I'll get my book deal. And then that didn't happen. And everyone just rejected it. And then I was like, wait a second. And my dad was like, you could self-publish on Amazon. And I looked into that, and I was like, that's a good thing to do. So I've been doing stuff since then, and like at the same time, also when I was 16, I was like, I'm going to make music. And I started recording albums and things like that, and started just putting stuff out there. And then like when Etsy came out, I started putting stuff on Etsy, but it took me at least 5 years of being on Etsy before I sold anything at all. Or I maybe sold one thing in that time span. And then like my first year of sales, I think I had like 5 sales or something. And I was like, well, I've made 5 sales. And like, that's the thing. And I think it's so important to remember. And this is a thing I've seen. And I definitely don't blame people for doing this, because society kind of, a lot of the media that teaches you about like, or shows examples of successful people, shows like, overnight success. And they never show you the fact of just how long it really takes anybody who appears to be an overnight success, in most cases, to actually get the success that they have. So, like, you see the finished result of, like, oh, this person just crawled out of the woodwork one day and was successful. But they didn't show you all the work and all the playing the small venues and all the stuff like that that went into it before that. So, I definitely don't blame people if they have this vision of overnight success and they, are disappointed. And it's okay to be disappointed because you didn't have that kind of success. But, like, it is such a mood because you're like, I'm working so hard. And, like, I think about all the hours I've spent promoting my business and writing, all the books and everything, and all the promotion things, and all the time and effort and all the stuff like that. And it's still like, it takes such a long time sometimes for these things to pick up. And like, the thing that kept me making them and not give up on them is because like, there's nothing else I would want to do, and I can't imagine not doing these things. So like, if I didn't do these things, what would I do? So it's not so much like, oh yeah, I'm choosing to keep doing this. It's like, it's part of who I am, and I can't not do it. So I just have to do it. Even if it's hard, even if I just do it, thanklessly for years and years. And that's what it takes. Like, I don't have a choice but do that. I literally can't give up on it. And it's something I like doing, and like, I have to write books and make art and perform and stuff, even if it's just for free. Like, it's so important to me. It takes so much energy and so much time. It takes so much, like, when you look at people like, oh yeah, you got a business, like, they don't show you how much time that person had to spend networking and promoting it on social media and like telling people about it and making this stuff in the first place. I couldn't even calculate how many hours in the past decade, let's say, even not counting like, because I started writing books when I was 10, and I wrote legitimate books, but then I grew up. By the time I was actually old enough to like do anything with them, I'm like, I'll rewrite this someday. It's not that good how it is. But when I was 10, I wanted to be an actor and a writer and an artist, and I made stuff like that. I had websites. I wanted to sell products on my websites because Etsy wasn't a thing back then. So I was like, I'll make jewelry and stuff and I'll sell it online. Didn't know what I was doing, and I never sold anything. But like, not even counting the old practice of all the stuff I made before that point, I think I couldn't even calculate how many thousands of hours in the past 10 years I've spent working on all this stuff. And like, it's all been worth it. but it's also taken a lot of time and a lot of energy. And there's been a lot of times that I was stressed out about other things going on in my life, but I'm like, well, I still have to keep pushing along with, getting this creative stuff out there. Like at one point, like in order to do all these things I want to do, at one point I worked full time, was also in a play in the community theater, which rehearsed usually 4 or 5 nights a week for usually like 3 hours. And on top of that, I didn't really make many sales on Etsy back then, but I did make a lot of sales on eBay for a while. So it would be me. I would get off work at like 5 p.m. I would go home. I would eat a snack real quick. And then I would head out, go to rehearsal, be there until 9 or 10 p.m., drive home, which is like a 45-minute drive, and then eat dinner, take a shower, feed all my pets and stuff. And then I'd have to pack eBay orders. And like that was tiring because I'd be up until like midnight or 1 in the morning when I had to get up at 7 the next morning to go to work. All my spare time outside of my job was spent working on trying to make this progress and trying to get acting credits for my resume so that I could actually get paid acting jobs someday. And me trying to, make money off of eBay and trying to do all this stuff. Like, it took so much time and effort. And I did get burnout from doing that. And that's why I took a break from acting for a while, because I was so burnt out. After doing a play, taking a break for a couple weeks, and then being in a different play. That was like 6 months of me, like, not having time to do anything. And it was so much time I put in. And I loved being part of the plays. I loved acting. And I loved the eBay stuff. But it was like, this is the amount of time and energy it took to make that progress in that time span. Because I had to make progress somehow. Yeah, burnout is absolutely the worst. Because, like, especially, like, burnout in general sucks, but it especially sucks if you don't even have time because of all the things that you have to do or things that you want to do to make progress. It sucks if you don't have time to do anything aside from that. So you have way too much to do, you don't have enough time, and you're always just perpetually behind schedule, no matter what you do. And no matter how hard you work, you're like, you're still falling behind. And then it's so tiring because you just literally used up all of your energy on trying to do these things that you've committed to doing. Like, I put something on eBay, I had to fulfill my order. It had to go out on a certain day, no matter how tired I was from, working and being at the theater and stuff, and if rehearsals ran late or whatever. And, like, I was so grateful that people were buying my stuff, but it was so exhausting. Like, and that's the thing I think needs to be talked about more, is you can have conflicting emotions about things, particularly creative things, and it's totally okay. You can make something, and you can simultaneously be glad that you made it, but also, like, hate it, I think, or hate the time commitment. You can be glad to be part of something, and then also, be burnt out or tired or whatever by how much time it took. Like, I was really grateful to be part of the plays that I was part of, but I was also, at the same time, sometimes I would kind of, hate the fact that I'd signed up for it in the first place because I had so little time and I was just so burnt out. Everything I did was so tiring. And it's okay to have conflicting feelings about stuff you do. You can make something and you can be like, that was really tiring, but I'm glad I made it. Or I'm glad this project is happening, but I'll also be glad when it's done. And it's okay to not love your creative stuff that you're doing all the time. I think that's one thing also that's not really shown enough. It's shown like, you own a business. You are an artist. You always love what you're doing. And they're like, do what you love. And like, you should do the things that you're passionate about, but you have to acknowledge, and this is something that I've learned the hard way, is like, you're not always going to love the things you do. No matter, even if you eventually do love them, there's going to be some point that you're going to be like, God, I hate this. Example, if I write something, by the time I'm done editing it, I'm probably going to hate it for a while, just because I've had to read it like 900 times. Later, I'll be like, yeah, I'm glad I made that. That was good. But I'm just so tired of editing at that point that I do hate what I made, maybe. Or I'm just really tired and I don't want to read it ever again. So I think it's something that needs to be talked about more, that you can be grateful for something, but also have issues with it. Or be grateful for something and be glad that you're making it or part of something, but also acknowledge that it has been tiring. For example, with me in the plays, I was super grateful to be doing acting. Like, I loved that part of it. But I also had to acknowledge that doing that and doing all the extracurricular stuff I was doing beyond my job that I had to do was so exhausting. That's why I literally took a break from acting for a couple years, because of I had like that whole job. I couldn't do acting again for like the rest of the year after that. After my burnout that I worked at that job, I was like, I'm not doing that again. And then eventually I had to find time with the job I had after that to be able to make time to do acting. Yeah, I totally needed that time and break. And yes, I know that's how you are with the podcast, and like that's why I relate to that whole feeling so much, because I've been there and done that before with a different thing, obviously, but still, like, I loved being part of the plays, but I hated how tired I was, and hated how much time and effort and stuff it took. Not because like had it just been that play, and if I was working at home, it didn't help that the job I was going to was super toxic and super bad for my mental health. And so like I would already be emotionally exhausted from that regardless of anything else. But then literally all my spare time was something like, it would be like if you were really thirsty maybe, and but the only water was like super hot, like it was burning you, but you needed to drink water. That's about the best analogy I can come up with. I needed to do those extracurricular activities to feel like I was making progress in my life, and to not be depressed about the fact that I was just stuck at this dead-end toxic job. I needed something to give me a distraction, to give me hope, and to give me, progress and improvement and something tangible. I could be like, I am going somewhere in life and I'm not just stuck in this crappy job that I'm stuck in. I needed that. But I also, doing that was like drinking the burning water. It was very unpleasant what I had to do to get that. It made it exhausting, even though doing those extracurricular activities was so important to me. Exactly. You love it, but you're also so bitter about it. Like, with again using the example of the plays, I was like, oh, this is so fun. I'm doing acting and I'm good at it, and people are like appreciating it and complimenting me. And I was like, this is so fun. I want to make a career out of this. But I was also bitter about the fact that I had signed up for it, because I was like, had no time to sleep or no time to even just like breathe. And then you regret, like, you were like, why did I sign up for this? Why would I do that? And I think it's totally valid to be bitter about the things that you make, because they do, sometimes take things away from you. Even if it's ultimately what you want, it still takes things away from you that you committed to that thing. And it still, in a lot of ways, my life was still a little bit better from doing all those extra activities while also working, because again, it was something I needed to do. I needed something else to do. I needed a distraction. I needed to make some progress and feel like I was going somewhere in life. But the same token, bitter about the fact of just how exhausted I was all the time for like 6 months because of me committing to all the stuff. And that's the thing that, again, society doesn't show. And society shows like, oh yeah, here's the overnight success. They're never burn out. Everything is great. They make art and they're happy and they always have enough money. And it was super easy for them to get to this point, which I want to say that media doesn't help with the stereotype that creative careers are easy to get into. That is an entirely different beef, but it is a beef that I have. Media, not that I watch a lot of medical dramas, but I feel like media shows people who are like becoming a nurse. They show it being hard, because it is hard from what I hear to get into medical school or whatever. So they show like, oh yeah, this person became a doctor. Look at this. Wow. And they show it like, wow, this is the struggle. This is the stress. And then they show somebody like, yeah, one day I woke up and I was an actor all of a sudden. Look, I'm on Broadway. Ha 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 ha. And again, that comes from my perhaps limited media that I've seen, but I feel like that's how creative careers are represented in media. They're shown, and that's, you don't see doctors like, wow, this person woke up and suddenly they're a successful doctor. You hear more of the struggle of like, yeah, I had to do all this to put myself through law school. I had to work 8 jobs. Like, they'll say stuff like that. But then they're like, this creative person crawled out of the woodwork one day and look at them. They are famous now. But they don't realize the fact that it takes just as long and just as much time and effort, and maybe even more time and effort than it takes to become a doctor or a lawyer or something. Creative careers are not easy to get into. And I think that's something the media needs to show more, is like, the overnight success is the exception, not the rule. It's not everybody that sprouts up one day is like, I'm going to be successful. And like, I really am into like classic rock, and that's like one of my hyperfixations since I was a teenager. Like, not quite as much now, but I still have retained the knowledge. But through my teenage years and early 20s, I have a lot of random knowledge about classic rock and classic pop and music from the like 60s and 70s and 80s. And like, one thing, a good example that like a lot of people, like, everybody's heard of the Beatles. Even if you're not a fan of them, like, everybody knows who they are. But the example I want to give is that the Beatles, when they played on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, in January of it, they were an overnight sensation. They played on the show, and everybody was like, wow, look at this. This is amazing. And then you had all the teenage girls screaming and all the stuff like that. You had all of that. But then they didn't realize the fact, like, 'cause it looked like the Beatles just sprouted up out of the woodwork, and they were just there one day, and everyone was like, wow, cool. Because it was such a big notable thing. Like, after the Ed Sullivan Show, that's when the Beatles really, like, blew up in America, became super successful. Nobody at that point was thinking about the fact that the Beatles started when all the members were teenagers, years prior, and they played like church shows and stuff like that for a long time. Then when they were like approximately adults, then they went to Hamburg, Germany for a while. And if I'm remembering correctly, it was at least 5 years, but maybe as many as 8 years. That I think it might be 8 years, but it was at least 5 years that they played in the clubs in Hamburg, Germany, multiple times a week for 8 hours at a time. 8-hour sets of songs, singing and playing music for 8 hours. And they did that for years and years. And then finally, 1964, after they've been doing this for such a long time, they finally go on TV and become this overnight sensation. And I say overnight sensation with a lot of quotation marks around it, because they worked so hard to get to that point of even being on the Ed Sullivan Show. So, because of that, they were somebody that very much appeared to be an overnight success, but totally wasn't. So, but yeah, burnout is a thing that needs to be talked about more, because I feel like most creative people at some point, especially if they've been making things in a like more of trying to make it a career type way, if they've had the ability to work on it that amount and take it that seriously, I feel like most people who've done that have had burnout at some point. And it's something that needs to be talked about more, because it's a real thing and it can be really damaging. And you shouldn't, like, it's not just like, oh, I'm a little bit tired. It's like, and like when you're burnt out, it's this type of tiredness, like no matter how much you sleep, it's still there. You can't do anything to get rid of it. you feel like you could sleep for like a month and you still would be tired, just because have so little energy, and your brain is so tired. And it's like kind of like if you have your cell phone battery gets really, really low. If you plug it in, like, as soon as it gets low, it might come right back on. But if your phone battery's been dead for a while, it might need to charge for like a while before it even come back on. And that's how I kind of think about burnout. You drain your battery so low that you have to be in that sleep mode where the screen won't even come on for a while before you can even, come back on again. Because you're so tired. You have like, if you think about energy being an amount on a scale from 0 to 100, you have like a negative amount of energy, like negative 50, let's say. So not only do you have to make a lot of energy back and regain that over time, and over time of being able to rest before you can even get back to 0, at which point you're still at 0, but you're just only at 0. And you still have so much further to go to get back to 100. So, but yeah, that's the thing about creative careers is like, and I've seen a lot of people, some people I've known have been like, oh yeah, I'm going to start an Etsy store. And I feel like, depending on how well I know the person, I might like nicely remind them, like, okay, your stuff's cool, but whether or not people pick up on it really quick is not a determining factor as to the value of what you're making. You could be making really great stuff, but if people just don't discover it, you could be in obscurity for a long time, but it doesn't mean your stuff's bad. It just means people haven't found it. And on the internet, I will definitely say the biggest enemy, the biggest struggle you have in having your stuff, whatever you make, become popular isn't the actual inherent quality of what you're making, but rather only obscurity. Obscurity is really your biggest enemy. Because it's not that people don't want to find it, it's that if people can't find it, no one will know if they like it. Like, my Etsy stuff didn't show up in search results for a long time. If nobody knows about your stuff, nobody's going to be enjoying it. That doesn't mean your stuff's bad. There's things you can do to help that, like getting better at, figuring out the algorithm and doing things that benefit you in that sense, or figuring out how to, take better product photos. There are things that will help you that are small things you can do. But building a good network of people and finding a community of people who care about your stuff, those people will spread it from word of mouth, and that's how you will kind of help yourself rise out of obscurity. So, because of that, just kind of a reminder to anybody watching this that if your stuff doesn't become popular as soon as you think it would become popular, then it doesn't mean that your stuff's bad. It just means people haven't found it yet, or that the right people haven't found it yet, the people who will be, hyped about it and will help promote it or talk about it on their social media. So, because of that, it makes it tiring to, keep pushing even when you're not seeing results. But I feel like in most cases, if you're really serious about doing creative stuff, then that's something kind of like if you're an actor, you have to be okay with rejection because it's going to happen a lot. If you do anything creative, you have to be willing to put up with being obscure until your stuff catches on. And that's like, once you break that barrier, it's kind of like a floodgate, and it picks up pace a lot faster and kind of snowballs. So like, if it took you a year to get your first 100 followers, it probably won't take you another year to get your next 100. It may only take you, 6 months, and then get your 100 after that, 3 months, and so on and so forth. The more successful that your stuff becomes, though, from what I've seen, the faster it becomes successful. But there's like a wall you have to break through to get to that point. And every time you make a new thing or promote your things or make a social media post, you're chipping away at that wall just a little bit. And eventually you will chip through that wall. But you might just have to be chipping away at it for a while. Thank you. I want to get more into doing illustrations for children's books. I did apply probably like a week or two ago for a children's book. So that's definitely something that I would like to do. And thank you. I agree that it would be nice for that. And I like drawing cute animals and stuff like that, and those are a common topic of children's books. Little happy froggos. Exactly. And like in Becky Beauty School and stuff like that, it's like it takes a lot of time to get those degrees. Somebody I know got their license in that, and it took a lot of hours and a lot of money and stuff for her to do that. A lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, this job is an easy job, and it really, when they say that, I think it just means a job that they don't personally value as much. Kind of like how a lot of careers in the arts are not valued as much as other careers, even though the arts careers take just as much time and devotion and energy in order to become it than somebody with a more serious career. It's definitely not easy, and a lot of things that people are like, oh yeah, this job is so easy. It's not easy. It might look easy to people outside of it that think like, oh yeah, anybody could do that, but they don't know what goes into it, and they're just like, oh yeah, that looks easy, and then you by extension devalue it. Just ignore the fun chat messages that are spam. Oops. That was just the sound of me trying to delete the spam while also dropping my phone. Okay, thank you. Thank you for deleting them. Well, hey, maybe they showed up and gave me some more metrics for my stream. One can hope. There was some benefit. That's nice. Anyways, see, that's a good sign. My stuff's popular enough that spammers have jumped on. Kind of like when I get spam messages on Instagram, I'm like, my account has enough reach now that spammers are finding it. So I guess that's a good thing. It's like I'm gonna find the good in the situation. All right, so now I'm gonna draw the little pupils. Oh, first I'm gonna be smart about this and draw from the top down. So first I'm gonna do the little strawberry pieces, little seeds. And Casper, it was you sending me the frog with the flower hat post on Twitter this morning that it was like, I want to draw a frog with a flower hat. So, thank you for that, because it gave me inspiration. Because I was already going to do a frog with a fruit on its head, like a strawberry or a raspberry. But I was like, I saw the flower hat frogs you sent me, and then I was like, I want to do a flower hat frog. But then I was like, wait a second. I was like, what's better than just a frog with a hat on its head? Is if the hat frogs are gay and they live in a cottage and they're holding hands. That's what I'm here for. So yeah, thank you for sending me that, because that is directly the inspiration for why we have our little flower hat friend over here. So, almost done with this illustration. I know, okay, I'm just thinking about how exactly I want to do this. Okay, well, I'm going to paint their little pupils next. We're going to be looking at each other. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun painting these little froggies today. They're happy, and they are in love, and they live on a farm together. They live in their little cottage. They grow flowers, and they are boyfriends. They have little chickens, like imagine little frog-sized chickens that they could take care of. That's what they have. Yeah. they have their little happy little life on the farm. And I've headcanoned that the frog over here on the left uses he, him pronouns, and this one uses he, they pronouns. I have a little non-binary boyfriend froggo. Because again, I've seen a lot of cute cottagecore girlfriend stuff, and I was like, ooh, and I was like, wait a second, and I suddenly realized I'm like, I haven't seen a lot of cottagecore boyfriend stuff, and I'm like, that's what I'm gonna make. I'm gonna combine several adorable things: frogs, cottagecore, frogs with flower hats, cottagecore partners as a concept, all kinds of cute things, and make this painting, which I'm really pleased with how it came out. Happy little froggos. I've just got a few finishing touches after I do their eyes. And like with all the stuff that I draw on my streams, this will be available when I get it listed on my Etsy as both a print and a sticker. I love when my hand chooses a great time to tremble. Okay, one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to clean that off. Yes. Yeah, so if anybody has any name suggestions for the frogs, feel free to suggest them. I don't have any name suggestions for them, but yes. They are boyfriends, and I'm going to draw a little garden of little flowers behind this one. So their little story of how they met is that they both lived in the Frog City, and they weren't really happy. They had jobs they didn't like, and they met each other on the subway because they ended up sitting next to each other. And they realized that like they both lived in the same neighborhood. So they started hanging out. They're like, oh yeah. They had a nice conversation on their way to work one day. And they started hanging out. And then one time, this one over here, they were sad. And then this one over here was like, started trying to comfort them, talking to him about it. And then was just like, this one was like, maybe someday I'll live, away from all this and like can just live on a farm and grow plants and sell all kinds of things. And like, I picture this one like liking the gardening part of it and liking the farming part, and then this one like wanting to make crafts and stuff. Like I can picture him wanting to like weave baskets, and like maybe they have little frog-sized sheep or something, and he's like, cool, we can have sheep, and then we can, or goats or something, and we can, take their hair and make clothes out of it, and then set up an Etsy shop. Maybe he likes making like cupcakes and cookies and stuff for all the neighbors. Maybe sometimes people like be like, your stuff's really good, let me pay you for it. And then he's like, you don't have to. And you're like, no, we want to. And like, that's his little business. He's like making crafts and baking stuff. And then this one grows all the vegetables. And okay, yes, that's going to be their names. Stanley and Lloyd. Those are their names. I love that so much. That makes me happy. They have to, if they have a story, they have to have names. That's just rules. So, yes, Stanley and Lloyd. I love that. Those are cute froggo names. So yes, Stanley is the one who likes making, like weaving baskets and making fiber crafts. And then Lloyd is the one who likes gardening and growing the crops and tilling the soil. Like, maybe they like playing music. Maybe Stanley plays a guitar and maybe Lloyd plays like the harp. And they just sit on their porch at night with like all the lightning bugs and all the fun stuff like that. And they can just hear all that in the distance and look at the stars and just sing their songs. And like maybe sometimes their neighbors come by. Maybe some of the neighbors are frogs and some of the neighbors are other critters. Like maybe they have some little raccoon and some deer and some stuff like that comes by. And then they hang out and they play music together and they maybe sit around a little campfire, and maybe sometimes in the summer they go on hikes in the woods. Just see what they can see at night. Being frogs, look for bugs. And then when they're tired from walking, they come home and they cuddle with each other and they hold hands. And they go on picnics and stuff. That is canonically what Stanley and Lloyd do. Yeah. I'm going to paint a little window on their house. I want the background to not be distracting from the frogs. Just to kind of add an accent behind them. But yeah, got the little window. Gonna do a little scalloped roof on their house. But yeah. They're their cute little cottage together. And, okay, so I'm gonna bring in some of the other colors that I've used on the frogs. Real quick, I just want to add a little tiny bit of distinction to their hands, so you can see they're holding hands instead of it just being the little jumble. So I'm just going to add a real thin little line just to add some definition, so you can be like, oh, they're holding hands. But I'm not outlining the whole frog. I do outline some of my art sometimes. It can be kind of time consuming. I do like how it looks though. But in this case I want to keep it soft, so I don't want to highlight everything. Just mostly me wanting to add just almost like a little shadow almost. Almost just a little shadow. Being like, oh yeah, that's their hands. But yeah. Oh, I think about Happy Little Froggos that kind of like a book I've always loved since I was a kid is Wind in the Willows. I picture them kind of living a lifestyle like that. They're like, we're going to go on our boat today. But like that plus a little bit more farming. That's what I picture. And speaking of which, other things I was thinking, because I was trying to think, like, I like painting cottagecore type scenes and stuff. So I'm like, someday I could pick illustrations and do like redraws of things. So I could do illustrations from like Wind in the Willows or Beatrix Potter books or things like that. And I could be like, I'm going to do my own version of it. So, yeah. Now their hands have a little bit more definition, so you can see they're holding hands. Alright, and okay, so last little details that I want to add. I want to bring in some of the color from the rest of it. So the frog is wearing a red strawberry hat. So, flowers. Two of the flowers are going to be red. And one of the flowers is going to be the purple that's on Lloyd's little hat. So, okay, we've got the flower. Got this other little flower, and they're also going to have some little flowers growing in their window box. And then probably later today I'll probably upload last week's art stream to YouTube today. So the little crab one. And then I'll probably also upload this one, but I'll have it scheduled to just be published tomorrow, so I don't like spam YouTube with videos. But so that video will also be out. And then anybody who didn't get to watch this or whatever wants to send it to one of their friends to watch, they'll be able to do that then. Because I know there's some people who wanted to hop into the stream that didn't know if they'd be able to, so they will be able to watch it. And I just got the little window box flowers. One thing I feel like I never have enough of is small paintbrushes. I will always, when I see small paintbrushes, like, I need that. And my mom's like, you have a lot of paintbrushes. I'm like, I need more though. Because I feel like as an artist, there's certain supplies, and it might just be me, there's certain supplies I'm always afraid that I don't have enough of, and I will just buy them, even if I probably have plenty. Because I'm always like, what if I don't have plenty though? So, because of that, I will always buy Sharpies. You know, I have a lot of Sharpies, but I'm like, if I use one Sharpie and it's dry, then I'm like, what if all my Sharpies are dry? And I'll like buy more Sharpies. I do use a lot of them, so I don't have as many Sharpies sitting around as I would think I would have, like just sitting there not being used. But I do have a pretty lot of paintbrushes, but they're also something that gets damaged sometimes. For example, when I leave them in the water, or worse, when I leave paint drying up on them. That is entirely my fault. But because I know how I am, when I see a good price on paintbrushes, I'm going to buy them because I know I will probably need them. Okay, so we're almost done. I'm just drawing the last little flowers. And then drawing this little flower. Got the center of the flower a little bit wet, so I don't want the paint to smear too much. But yeah, happy little cottagecore frogs holding hands, wearing hats. That is what I'm totally titling a YouTube video. Gay cottagecore frogs holding hands and wearing hats. That's what the video is going to be. So people, when they watch it, they'll know what they're getting into. And then I'm totally going to say the frogs' names and pronouns in the description, so people can know how to address the froggos. So as they discuss their adventures, they will know how to refer to them. All right. And one thing I'm going to do, because I like this little flower over here by their house, is going to get a very tiny face. Which, when I say, like, oh, I'm going to have a tiny face, it's me very carefully. I need to dry up there's too much water on top of it still because I, again, water my paint down too much. So a helpful tip, at least with our acrylic paints, take yourself a little piece of napkin, just dab it, soak up that water. And now it's time to draw a really tiny face on the flower. I'm going to draw a tiny face. I hope I don't regret it. I hope my trembling, shaky little hands don't mess up the flower. Because sometimes you've been like, I'm going to draw a cute little face on it, and the face ends up being way too big and it looks weird. Yay! Okay, good. It has a little face. I wanted to give it a little subtle face because, like, these flowers are here, just chilling. They're in the backdrop. Probably couldn't see their faces anyways because they're, like, further away. But, like, this one's up by the house. And it's happy. And I like, if there's something in a picture that I can draw a face on it, probably draw a face on it. So, if you know me, you know that's what's going to happen. But, yeah. So, this is done now. I'm really happy with how it came out. I'm going to pick it up and show it to the camera so everybody can see it better. But yes, here we have Stanley and Lloyd, our little cottagecore froggos. They are boyfriends and they love each other. And there will be prints and stickers available of this on my Etsy, and this whole stream will be uploaded to YouTube, so you can also watch it there. But yes, Stanley and Lloyd, they are cottagecore boyfriend froggos. They love each other very much. They like working on crafts and going in their boat and gardening and just living a fun and relaxing life in each other's company. So yeah, this is officially done. I'm really happy with how it came out. It came out super cute. I'm really pleased with it. And I just want to say thank you so much for everybody who came out for this stream. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Becky, for still on the stream, for signing up for my Patreon. I really appreciate people signing up for my Patreon. Thank you, Casper, for stopping by. Thank you for naming the frogs, because I love the names you came up with. And also, thank you again for helping inspire today's painting by sending me hat froggos this morning. So, thank you so much for coming by, everybody. Really appreciate it, and I really always appreciate all the support. And it was a lot of fun today. I'm really happy with the little painting I did, and it was really good conversation talking about a lot of important things about creativity that I've talked about some before, but I haven't talked about that much. So it was nice to be able to kind of, talk about burnout and talk about some of the stuff that's important. It needs to be more normalized for people who are making creative things. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I hope everybody has a great day and stays safe. And I'm going to be streaming again at approximately the same time next Friday. So I look forward to seeing you guys then. Thank you so much, and have a good day. Bye!